Chaim, Chaim the bracha. Oh, I already made a bracha, but give a bracha. Let's continue with our mimer. So God's presence is as low as you'll get. There'll still be a glimmer of light of God there, a glimmer of the Ein Sof, of our Ein Sof. There'll be something there. When you go as high and high, now here's a little, the confusion is on the other, so to speak, direction, if you will. Um, when you go when things are concealed, not revealed. As low as you go, you'll always have a revelation of the light of Hashem. That's why we go to sleep after maybe a very difficult day, and with the hope that tomorrow will be a better day. Where does that notion come from? Yeah, because the Or Ein Sof is there, right? God has not abandoned such a low place in a revealed way we're talking about. You sense it. You feel it. As the Chassid of Mendel Futterfass felt in the Gulag and was joyful every day, imprisoned in the Gulag. Or the beautiful story to bring that out is over 200 years ago, the brothers Reb Zusha and Reb Melech, they used to go sort of uh, like incognito into what they would call gullus, into exile. And they would go through, this is like in I think the early years of their journey, and they would go into a town and like impoverished people, not that they were wealthy and whatever. And there was once a ruckus in the street that they happened to be close by, and the police took the people of the ruckus, which they weren't a part of. Somehow they got mixed in and took them off to prison. And here they're sitting in prison with these, you know, um, Polish peasants. I think it was in Poland. Not in Poland, maybe it might have been in White Russia. In any case, wherever. So morning time came, and they wanted to daven, but there was a bucket in the cell that was used for the inmates to relieve themselves, and there was like half a dozen or more that were in this cell. So Rav Zusha is really down because he realized he can't daven. He tells his brother, feels really down. Anyways, so Rebbe Melech tells his brother, "Why are you down? The same God that tells you should daven and in the morning that you should pray. It's time now for prayer. The same God says it in Jewish law that if there's, in a toilet you don't pray, right? And for all intents and purposes, because of the bucket being open there, it was like a toilet, and you can't pray. So he tells him, well, the same law, Jewish law that says that morning time comes in time to pray, same Jewish law says that now you're not allowed to pray. So the same God that says yes now says no. Rav Zusha heard that. He got up and started to dance with his brother out of joy. They're dancing, and for some other reason, the the those peasants that were there, incarcerated, right, that or whatever ruckus that there was that they were involved in, saw this and they were whatever, they're probably still half drunk and started to dance with them. And they kind of recognized they were dancing because of the bucket for whatever, I guess they understood what they were saying. Uh, and imagine you're in jail and you're dancing. Guard comes over. What's going on over here? What's this? What's this ruckus, right? So dancing says it's because of them. What do you mean because of them? Yeah, they're dancing because of that bucket over there. Yeah, all right. Guard comes in, takes out the bucket. I'll show you something. I'm taking it out. No bucket for you to relieve yourself. And takes out the bucket. And then dancing stops. Rebel Elimelech says, looks at Zusha. Now we can daven. Now we could pray. Why am I telling that story? Because as low as you go, right, the Or Ein Sof is still there. So in this story, that's represented in two ways. One is in the halacha, in the Jewish law, that tells us that in such an instance, you're not allowed to pray, right? You're not allowed to pray, which means the not of something. Sorry, the halacha, the law, is itself illuminating. Yes, it's telling you not to do something, but that itself is the divine will of God. So even in that moment, right, of where there was, first of all, you're in prison. Second, well, you're there with a bunch of drunken whatever. Um, and thirdly, you know, you can't pray even. Like seemingly everything's taken away from you. And then in the recognition, no, the Torah teaches us that this is the will of God. By not praying, you're fulfilling the will of God. So that itself is like that's Or Ein Sof being illuminated in the teachings of Torah that moment and guiding me in what I need to do. And at the same time, that led them, that's like intellectually, right? Or, in the mind that you have that awareness. And then emotionally, they're dancing in prison, in celebration of being able to serve God. The same God that says serve him by praying, the same God says serve him now by not praying. Wow. That brings them to great joy. They dance. What does it mean they dance? It means they experience the Or Ein Sof in such a low place. In other words, there's not a place where the light and the glimmer of God, the light of God, in other words, experiencing, is not available. It's there. It's there. In the second point that the Zohar is making is not the glimmer and the light, but there's another where there's the concealment, the opposite. The opposite, concealment. Concealment after concealment through a tzimtzum. I guess you could say the level that Reb Zusha was. It's not a good metaphor for this understanding. It's not. It's not a good metaphor because there was a revelation that came from the concealment. meaning there was a concealment by Reb Zusha being in jail and not being able to pray, a concealment of God. And that's why he felt saddened. He felt saddened. So, but then there was a revelation that came after that. No, talking about where there's a concealment after concealment after concealment, where there isn't a, and you're going higher and higher, meaning you're getting closer and closer. Every concealment is actually getting closer and closer to or ain't safe. That's a little more of a challenge. In other words, you're getting higher, not lower, even though you're not experiencing like Reb Zusha and Reb Elimelech. Reb Zusha, imagine in the moment, oh, his brother, in making that statement, just was a great revelation. Meaning a revelation of a Torah teaching, first of all, and then that led to great joy because feeling that Hashem is there, God's there. Um, Very powerful. Um, so on this level after level of concealment, and what is that? Oh, ain't safe. Now, because it's or ain't safe, or meaning light, meaning that there is some experience or experience of the fact that God is there in the concealment. Not that it's being revealed. That's the difference. See, in the case of the story of Reb Zusha, there was a concealment, but then there was a revelation that even in that low place, Oren Seif is there, the light in a revealed way. That's what led them to dance. But prior to that, there was a concealment feeling, and therefore he was down. So even when you're down, when there is a revelation, it can still be an experience of Oren Seif. And that's the paradox. The two opposites, whether there's revelation, a revelation of the light, and therefore you're experiencing the connection, if you will, or there's the concealment of it, you can still experience the connection. Or there's complete concealment. Orin Safe is there, meaning the experience. And at that point, there's a connection to God. But in both ways. And not just there's a connection to God that, from God's perspective. No, from our perspective, from the human perspective. That's the paradox over here. More to come. I hope that story kind of brought some illumination to the subject because it's a very uh, refined idea and very kind of abstract. I'm trying to make it more, bring clarity to it.